If you're building a team, are you being intentional with the way you structure your team? I spoke with Danielle Dowell, and she is the lead of the Dowell Group based out of Chicago with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. And she built a team of about 15 agents and assistants. And she's structuring it a little bit differently, where she's helping them determine their passion and their best abilities and moving them into the spots that fit best. She tells you all about it in the next RealTrending podcast, so enjoy the listen. Hi, Danielle. Welcome to the RealTrending podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so why don't you tell me a little bit about your journey into real estate? We can kind of find out where you've been and what you're doing right now.
So my journey started about 17 years ago when I moved to Chicago. I knew one person and that was it. And I came and I was in the hospitality industry before then. I thought to myself, I wanted to get into something that wasn't nights and, what I could do to kind of be around people. But to be quite honest with you, I really just needed to make money. And I wanted something to where I thought whatever effort that I could put in, I could get out. And I knew from my days of being in sports and being in hospitality that I had that kind of a hustler mentality, whether you like it or not. I kind of knew that was who I was as a person. And so my brother actually suggested for me to get into residential real estate. So I looked on Craigslist. Now I'm dating myself. And I found an ad and I wanted to work for a top producer because I had no clue what I was doing as an assistant. And that's what I did. So I found a woman and I applied and I did the interview and she hired me. And that's how I started.
Great. And tell me about the first property that you ever sold. What was that experience?
Okay, this is so great because it was a couple. It was right when the market had crashed, right after 2008. And it was a couple who was getting divorced and it was a short sale, which all of this is my first time selling any property. Yeah. So you can imagine how chaotic it was. The crazy part is I kind of think during the process, obviously you're dealing with all of their emotions because of their divorce, but I'm also dealing with learning how to do a short sale, which was just like the Wild West, because there was no book that told you this is what's going to happen. And it was a crazy experience. It took me, I think, almost 8 months, but I did get it sold. On the last day, they had moved, and I remember them telling me, we're not taking any more stuff. And the buyer came through and said, we're not going to close unless the stuff's out of the house. And so I decided to once again get on trusty Craigslist and tell someone, hey, if you come, you can have everything in the house, but you have to take everything. And within an hour and a half, somebody showed up and they took everything.
Oh my gosh, that's trial by fire for sure, especially in that market. Yeah, absolutely. So you have a team now. So how many team members do you have?
So we are at 15 right now.
Okay. And you kind of structure it a little bit differently than a traditional team. So tell me a little bit about your structure and about your team.
So I love my team. They're wonderful human beings. They're great to work with. Honestly, I don't know if I would still be where I'm at or doing this if it wasn't for them, because they're just, that's kind of the vibe that we have for the team. Mm-hmm. But so I structure things differently. So when someone comes into the office and says they want to work with us, I want to hear about their journey. I want to know, what are they missing or what are they needing? And for some people, it's, it can be anything as admin support, right? It can be, we need leads. I need mentorship, but I really want to dive in and find out what that person needs. And then I want to see if as a team and myself, if we can give them what they need and then if they can give us something. So I strongly believe it's like a 50-50 thing. So every single person on my team, whatever their proposition is for being on the team, is tailored differently to meet their needs. Then also, as I see things, whether it's before or after on the team that I think that they excel in, I really try to push them into that arena because, that's my job. I feel like as a team lead is to really help them get better and see things that they can't see themselves sometimes. But that's how our team is. So it's not just like a team where everyone comes in, you have the same split. This is the same, and it allows people the flexibility, but it also allows them to do their best work, in my opinion.
So what inspired that approach? What kind, where did you get that from?
I just think growing up and just even being when I was working with other people before starting my own team, I just think a lot of people try to push people into a position that they're just not right for. And there are people out there that can do everything. And those people are phenomenal, but they are few and far between. But there's a lot of people that can do certain things just as good as anything else, right? But they just can't do everything. And so in my opinion, I thought, well, look, why is it everything has to be the same across the board? Like, why when a lead comes in, everyone gets a chance at it like some big teams work? Like, why would I put someone, that's not qualified on a lead that comes in, or that, vice versa? So I just am very honest with everyone on the team, but I wanted to set something up for people where it made sense, and they didn't feel as pressured. I also think there's some people that life changes, so maybe you're going to have children, or you need some time off in for maybe a parent, or there's just things. And I want to make sure that everyone on the team has the capacity to do that and to still feel like that they can make money and that they're being cared for. And I feel like with some of the other team structures, that just wasn't there and that wasn't aligning. And I mean, I work a lot of hours because I love what I do, and a lot of my people on my team do, but I never want someone to work those hours and not feel like they're having fun and not having a good time. And I think if you can bring that type of vibration into whatever business you have, I think the longevity of people staying with you is great, but also I think they bring more to the table and they work much better.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, what if how do you handle someone who comes in and says, I love, open houses, but they get in it and they're no good at open houses. And you find what they're good at. How do you approach that? Do you have a story of someone that you actually moved into a different position because of that?
Yeah, so they know that's one thing I tell people is I'm very helpful, but I'm also very direct because that's how you kind of have to be. And I think they appreciate that, because I don't think anyone wants to be, they don't want someone to kind of like tell them something that is not true, right? So they'd rather hear directness. I hear that from a lot of people on the team, like, thank you for just telling me it is what it is, instead of being like, or passive aggressive, or, oh, man, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings. There's a way to say everything in life without hurting someone's feelings if you just know how to say it, And so, for instance, we had a guy that came on the team. It was interesting. He was a referral from another agent. And that agent said, I don't have the capacity to take you on, but you should join her team because of how much business she does. And I've worked with her before, and I know that she is very big on mentorship and helping out the people that come on. And so he came on the team. He started doing some random stuff for us, like open houses, just, this or that, coming on listing presentations, trying to learn. I don't remember where we're at, but he videoed some stuff for me at one place. And I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, you did a great job. And he said, oh, I'm going to show you, cut this video. And the way that he produced it, and the way that he cut it, and the way that he put it together, I was like, listen, you don't need to set open houses. You need to focus solely on social and doing these videos. And so that's what he started doing. So I said, listen, I'll pay you to do some of the stuff for us. Or if you want to get into that and that's the route you want to go, I can introduce you to other realtors. But I think it would be super beneficial, just like kind of see how it works out. So then he went and kind of started a TikTok page and another page. And that's really all he does is videos. And that's how he makes all of his money. So for him, I saw that in him and I said, listen, you're really good at this. So you should, I didn't 100% determine how his play out went, but I said, you should get into this. Let me help you by giving you some money, because I know, everyone needs to make money to do our listings. And then he just started, doing other listings as well. And he does a great job at it.
So it's always fun to really spot something someone's really good at. And I'm sure they really appreciate that feedback too, because it might be something, there's always this imposter syndrome, like you love to do something, but I don't know if I'm really good at it. So I think that's a great way to run a business too. And it's like, I can't remember the author, Jim something, where he really focuses on putting the right people in the right seats on the bus. And that is the way that you build your organization. And it just makes so much sense. When you hire someone, you might be hiring them for something different, but you see something in them and you move them to what really can help both the organization and that person. So.
Yeah. And I'm very upfront at the interview process about this. Mm-hmm. So when you come on, like if I see something in you or I see a better position, it doesn't mean you have to go there. You have your own agency, but I'm going to like strongly advise based off what I see. And, then you can decide what your journey or path is.
Yeah. So you called your team the Dowell Group, and yes. I wanted to talk to you about the support that you offer the agents who are on your team. So tell me a little bit about how you identified what they needed and what you're offering.
We may get there. I've not recruited so far. I've only talked to agents that came to us first. I think it was honestly them seeing something in us and coming to us. And that made me feel just much easier with the process of bringing people on. And so when they would come on, I would just ask them what they needed. Then over time, I realized, okay, we've always had a pretty good, robust back-end system, but then I realized, okay, we need to make sure that the paperwork is done a certain way so that everyone's covered. But also, a lot of agents are amazing at doing sales, but they're not amazing at paperwork, nor do they want to do it, right? And these are things when you have the right people doing that are very easy processes to take out from agents and have them, not have to do that work where they can solely focus on selling, right? So that's something that we offer. We also offer a ton of just marketing. Like when I bring them on, I help them with marketing. I promote it. For me, my favorite part of the job is the creative part of the job. It's the problem solving and coming up with ideas and seeing them hit, whether it's hey, we're going to do a video and I think we need 6 people there. Let's dress in these outfits. Let's do these things and let's cut, that's what I love. But I think we offer everything, a little bit of everything to every agent, or if they have an idea of what we're not offering and we think that we should, then we look into that. And we constantly change. I tell everyone on the team, we change all the time. That's what we're going to do. Nothing is going to be consistent because why should it be? Everything changes in life. And to me, that's one of the most beautiful things about life is changing. So I say one thing that we do last year, we may not do this year, or we may do it the next year. So we're open with ideas and everyone kind of has input. So, really they're telling me what they want me to offer and then I'm putting the package together.
That's a great collaboration too. Adding services as you see the need or subtracting them if they're not working or not needed. So definitely. I think people hang on to things way too long because they just keep hoping it's going to work if they tweak it a little bit, rather than just cutting their losses and moving on to some other idea and testing things. So that's great to be flexible like that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that for sure.
Yeah. So what is the best piece of advice you've gotten over the years from a mentor or a friend or even a relative?
So the best piece of advice I ever got from starting off was from my brother. And I remember for 2-3 years, I'm just running all across, just doing everything and deals just falling apart, nothing happening. And, for a second, I was like, maybe I just should give up. This is so much work, because I think one thing that people don't realize is that in this business, it is a lot of work. If you look at this and say, oh, she just came and this is just how it happened and it was so easy, that is not the case. But it can also be super enjoyable and rewarding if you allow it to be and if you want it to be. But I told him, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of getting exhausted. He said, Danielle, just keep doing what you're doing. He's like, consistency is key. And I preach this every day to everyone. And he was right. He said, what's going to happen is one of these days, the faucet's going to turn on. And he's like, and the water is not going to ever turn off if you just continue doing what you're doing. And he could not have been more right ever. And that was, 3 years into it. And it's just kept going ever since then.
Sounds like he's a great brother.
He's the most amazing brother. I could never ask for, I have 2 sisters who are wonderful too, but I have one brother and he is absolutely amazing. And him and I do business together too in Missouri because we're from a small town there. So we do stuff down there too. And he's wonderful. He's a great person.
Is he in real estate as well or just a different business?
He's in real estate too. So he's a builder. So he's great at design. We started a company a long time ago. He pretty much has taken it over now because he's better at the design than I am. And one of his houses in Missouri, his own house just won an award last year for it was well designed, but he does everything himself. And he's really, really good. And he's just a great person. He's just a very kind-hearted human being.
That's great. It's good to have someone to rely on like that you can run ideas off of, So I wanted to have you offer advice on building a team. I think there are a lot of agents out there who maybe have joined a team. They're not happy on the team they're on. They want to do it themselves, or maybe they are happy and they just feel like it's time for them to start building a team. What would you say would be that first big step? And then what advice do you have for them to move forward?
Yeah. So I think really thinking about it, every team runs differently. So that's something, if you're going to be starting a team, I think you need to understand how you want to run your team. And then you have to be dedicated to running your team. Running a team, in my opinion, I see a lot of people that have agents, but I don't think they're really running a team. And I'm not saying that's bad. I am a person that whatever works for you, works for you. But for me, if I'm going to bring somebody on, I think they deserve to be mentored and they deserve to be given opportunities. And I want to do that for them because I want someone to treat myself like I would treat them and vice versa. If I were to go on a team and just felt that I was neglected, that would not be good for me. So I try not to do that to anyone that comes on our team. But I think you need to understand what structure you want on the team, what you need, what you don't like to do, and what you want someone else to do, what your long-term picture is. I mean, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You need to know what your marathon pace is and where your marathon's going. And I think for me, I was always very clear. I'm very self-aware of like where I wanted to be at X time in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And I plan for that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really the big thing with team building. And do realize that when you run a team, now you have clients, that you go to, and I still have those 100%. But now you have other clients. They're called your team, and those are my clients. So I have to treat them and make sure they're okay, make sure they're taken care of, because when I do that, they're my largest asset.
And so when you say know how you want your team to look, is that like, do you want to be a lead generation team, or do you want to be give me some examples and tell me what you like, define what your team is.
Yeah. So do you want to be the main person that everyone's looking at and that everyone comes to, do you want to just be someone that's on the back end, kind of like pulling in the leads? What do you want? For us, for me, my team, my last name is Dowell. We changed and rebranded to Dowell, and that's what we go by. And there was intention on that. I don't want everyone to know me. I want them to know our team for who we all are and what we're all capable of and how great of a job that we do. I don't want it to be Danielle, because it's not me. And there are plenty of people on my team that do a better job than I do at certain things. And I am 100% happy to tell any client that any given day. I'm not the best person in every role. And that's what a great team is. That's what a great company is. And that's the difference between being like here and being here. You are one person. You can't do it all. And so for me, that's our team. Our team, I want it to be more of it's our team. It's not me. I don't want in 5-10 years for people to even know that it was my team. It's the Do Well team.
And does the Do Well also translate into charitable activities and community activities?
I think that we haven't it's kind of been like a thought process of ours. Like, do we want to get into something as a team? Right now, it's just more of like individuals on the team. Hey, can we do this charity? This is something I like. Can we support it? That's how we've done it so far. But I chose Do Well for a lot of those reasons, was because of our team, also my name. Branding, I thought there was so much that we could do with it branding wise. And so that's definitely like on our schedule of things to like go over and to possibly, hopefully, I would personally like to do some sort of construction thing with younger kids and people. And I have an idea for it, but yeah, that's definitely in our future, I hope.
Tell me what you see out there in the market right now, not necessarily housing market wise, but maybe industry wise, as some trends or opportunities that you're seeing right now.
I think the trends are really to have teams at this point. And I think that's one of the other reasons why we've started to grow. I think it's an opportunity, market share wise, but also just once again, you have to turn in from being an agent into being a business owner at some point in order to continue to strive and continue to grow, because you're one, you can only do so much, even if you have an assistant and stuff. And not to say that you have to do that, because there's plenty of people that they want to do X amount of business and that's how they want to do it. And that's fine. But I think the trends are to our teams. And I think that's going to continue. I actually think for the consumer, it's a great thing. I think that our industry in my opinion, you need teams for mentorship. You need to be training. I think it's a bit strange, and I hope that people don't dislike me for this comment, that I have to like go to school for 6 months to cut your hair, but I go to school for 2 weeks to sell your most valuable asset.
Yeah.
So to me, when I'm talking to anyone, even when you're looking to hire someone, I mean, as a consumer, do your research. I mean, there are so many things that can go wrong. And so I really think teams is like a huge trend. I mean, it's been for a while, but I think it's going to continue.
Trust me, no one will go after you for saying that. I think
Okay,
there's been an industry-wide push to be more professional, more education, more, more requirements to get into the industry, especially by the professional agents out there. And there are a lot of them. So definitely. All right. You mentioned sports earlier. I waited till now to bring it up, but I know you play basketball. So tell me a little bit about you playing a league right now too, right?
I do.
So tell me a little bit about that and how it's really informed your business.
So I think basketball for me, I always grew up playing since 4th grade, and I've just loved the sport. I think number one, it's team sports to me is really why my thought process, I think, is the way it is sometimes. And it's like passing, and it's giving someone else opportunity, and it's not always being a ball hog. Like, this is how my mind works. And it's a lot about like basketball. And for me, I love basketball. I love going on the court. I play in a co-ed league. But it's mostly men. I mean, my team's all men besides me. And then we have 2 other girls in the league on other teams. And it's that time of like the week where that's the only time I really I don't hear or see anything. It's just like, it's nostalgic to me too. It's like a huge deal. And so I love Monday nights. That's our league night. And that night, like, I cherish, like, I'm not moving anything for Monday nights. I want to be there for that game. But it's interesting because when I grew up in a small town in Missouri in the middle of nowhere, like 1,200 people. And my dad, my brother, and we watched every single Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Bulls game. Like, that was our thing. Like, we were into it hardcore. Like, we had nothing else to do with 1,200 people. Like, you're not going anywhere. Okay. So we watched every game. So it's interesting that I ended up in Chicago because, I still go to the games here a lot. I love the women's team, Chicago Sky, huge proponent for women's basketball, but just in general, I love the game. I absolutely do. So I feel like everything kind of happened for a reason.
Did you play in college too, or?
I was supposed to play in college. I signed, then I decided not to. I wanted to play volleyball actually, but I wasn't as good. So I was trying to go that route, which I did. But then they were like, "Oh, we heard you can play basketball too." And then it just got to a thing where, to be honest, I was like, I am not going to have a college life at all. And so I ended up not going. I signed, then I revoked. And then, then I think actually it's the best decision I ever made in my life.
Yeah. Actually, my daughter played volleyball and she was really good and she was getting recruited and she just said, I don't want to play in school. And now she's a freshman and she's loving every minute of it without having volleyball in her life because she's got so many other things to do there. So it was good for her. Yeah. So what are some common mistakes you see? And like, let's talk, in a post-settlement world, are you, do you find that you're having to educate other agents as well on the new processes, or has that gone smoothly? And what are you seeing out there? And what are you noting?
So for us, the process was seamless. We've always had buyer broker agreements. So that was something that was not new to us. And I think that there is no problem explaining it. I think with anything, as long as you understand the process, you're able to, if anyone has questions, you're able to give them honest answers of how it works. And so for us, it's been pretty easy. Everyone on the team explains it. Everyone's got it down. Do we have questions occasionally from time to time? We do, but so far, we have not seen a huge difference on anything besides just, explaining a little more detail, which I think is great. And then just some more paperwork.
And you're under a broker, right? You're not the broker.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm not.
How is that education? Did you take advantage of that with your team members or?
Yeah, we did. Like, Berkshire is wonderful. I'm with Berkshire Hathaway. They were absolutely great. They honestly reached out to us so much, but I felt like we kind of had a handle on it. I also am not a person that will freak out or get upset or anything like that before I actually know like what's going on. That's just my personality. So we really like talked about it once. We kind of looked at it. They were like, oh, we've got all these meetings. Do you want? And I was like, no, let's just wait till it comes out. It rolled out. We sat down. We looked at it. Okay, this is what we're doing. Moved on.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people made a huge deal out of it. I don't really know why, but to me, it was very straightforward.
Okay. Yeah. And I know I didn't get the brokerage. I knew you were with Berkshire Hathaway. Are you with the Starks?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay.
They're up north. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was just wondering. So my last question is really like, if you were starting your real estate career today, market's been a little slow, new practices, it's been a little chaotic. What advice do you have, or what would you do differently, for agents who might be struggling a little bit in this market? What do you have to say to them?
So I would say if you're by yourself, join a team. I think that's the best thing you can do as an agent. Whether you stay with that team, whatever, you're going to be able, if you get the right team, you're going to learn so much. The other thing I would say is if you have the time, be an assistant. I mean, I was an assistant for my first two and a half years. And then I was even like a showing assistant and stuff after that for a woman. And I learned so much because I took it in, and I absorbed it. And, those 2 years, if you're with the top agent, you're going to see more deal flow than someone that's probably been in the business 20 years. That's just a normal agent. I mean, the amount of deal flow that comes through that you can see from someone that's doing 50, 60 million a year is insane. And all of these things that, randomly pop up throughout the deals over the years, right? That you're like, oh, wow, I don't know this. You kind of see that. So I think that's super important. I'm always like, if you can do it, I know assistants sometimes don't get paid a ton, but to me, it's like going to school. It's like, that's how you have to look at it. You're going to college. Like, you're lucky that someone's paying you so that you can learn from them. I mean, it's a different way to look at it, but that's how I look at it.
No,
and that's what I would do.
That's great advice. I think, if I were entering real estate, knowing what I know, I would definitely join a team to learn. You got the lead generation generally from a team that you might not get directly from a brokerage. Depends on the brokerage that you join. And then you've got that mentorship that you could take advantage of to kind of really learn the business. So I think that's great advice. Yeah. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for joining the RealTrending podcast. We really appreciate you and appreciate you coming on with us today.
Tracey, thank you so much for having me. This was absolutely wonderful. And I can't wait to see how it all turns out.
Great.